Let me tell you a story. There was once a king who became obsessed with creating the perfect map of his kingdom. At first, this seems like a good thing to do. He wanted every river marked accurately, every road measured perfectly, every village placed exactly where it belonged in his kingdom. And so he gathered scholars and cartographers and ordered them to produce a representation of the kingdom so precise that nothing could escape its boundaries. And as the map grew more detailed, the king's attention slowly drifted away from the kingdom itself. He stopped walking through the fields. He stopped listening to the people. His relationship with the living reality of the kingdom weakened, while his fascination with the representation deepened. Meanwhile, the actual kingdom began to decay. Village economy was destroyed. The walls of the kingdom cracked. But inside the palace, the king remained absorbed in the map making, convinced that because he possessed a perfect representation of the kingdom in a miniature conceptually, he somehow possessed the kingdom itself. And my topic today is Friedrich Nietzsche's argument in his essay on the truth and lie in extramoral sense begins almost exactly here. You see, human beings slowly become trapped inside the conceptual map of reality and eventually forget that the map is not the territory. Today I want to talk about this essay, unpublished, written by Friedrich Nietzsche in 1973. So let's begin. Nietzsche describes what he calls the rational man. You know him because modern civilization is built in his image. He trusts the concepts. He trusts categories, systems, frameworks, definitions. He moves through the world by naming things. And once something has been successfully named and placed inside a conceptual structure, he feels the reassuring click of understanding. Nietzsche says this man constructs what he calls an infinitely complicated dome of concepts, an immense architecture of abstraction built slowly across generations, where every idea supports another idea. Every category connects to another category, and the human being increasingly lives not in direct contact with reality, but inside a carefully constructed world of interpretations. And whenever something disturbs him, suffering, uncertainty, contradiction, the instability of life itself, he retreats deeper into this structure, searching for explanations, classifications, familiar patterns through which the shock can be absorbed without directly confronting the exposed now beneath all interpretation. He does not merely classify reality, he protects himself from it. Concepts are not only tools of understanding, they are like shelters built against chaos. What are the bricks of this conceptual world actually made of? They are made of words and metaphors that have been repeated so many times that people no longer experience them as metaphors, but as reality itself. Because before there was a word, before there was a category, before there was something called truth, something immediate happened. A nerve in the body was struck by the world. That sensation became an image, living, sensory, irreducible. And then someone translated that image into a sound, a word. What we call truth, like red is red, green is green, is already several steps removed from the original encounter. Like you see, first the nerve, then the image, then the sound. And after that, the word begins circulating, repeated, passed between people, written down, taught to children. This is bird, this is elephant, this is dog, until everyone forgets that the word began not as reality, but as metaphorical translation of an encounter someone once had with reality. Truth is a mobile army of metaphors, metonym, illusions of which one has forgotten that they are illusions. Truth or truths, he says, are like worn out coins whose images have been rubbed away through endless use until people no longer see the face stamped on the coin and treat it merely as metal. There was once a living encounter behind the world, something immediate, something felt. A human being reached toward language in an attempt to preserve that contact with an experience that exceeded language. Well, that was the original metaphor. That was the coin with a face on it. But after centuries of repetition, the image wears away. What remains is only the dead surface of language itself. And human beings move through the world holding these worn out abstractions in their hands and calling them truths. To understand, take the simplest possible example. Well, take the word leaf. You see, no two leaves are identical. Every leaf differs in shape, texture, color, pattern, position. Each leaf is singular, unique, but language cannot operate at the level of pure uniqueness. And so, the mind performs a strange kind of violence without realizing that it is a violence on uniqueness. It takes thousands of radically different leaves, ignore everything particular about each one, and compresses them into a general category and produces the word leaf. A concept, a word that does not perfectly correspond to any actual leaf that has ever existed, yet functions well enough for the communication and survival. Nietzsche's point is not that this process is useless, by the way. You see, without abstraction, there would be no civilization, no science, no memory, no society. But something essential is lost when we generalize and give words. The living encounter becomes conceptual residue. The singular becomes general. The fluid becomes fixed. And then the rational man mistakes the abstraction for reality itself. He holds the concept in his hand and says, I have the truth about leaves. I know what leaves are. Do you really? Or you just know the words? Once we understand and learn the word leaf, do we really experience leaf again ever in our life? Nietzsche says there is another type of person entirely different from the rational man. Where the rational man immediately reaches for concept, this other type of person remains longer with the naked experience before imposing it inside language. He doesn't rush to convert every encounter into a category. He stays closer to the rawness of things before they harden into abstractions and concepts. Nietzsche says that the rational man, like he carries an umbrella. The umbrella is made of concepts, the framework, the category, the interpretive structure standing between himself and the world. The rain is life in its immediacy. The rain itself is reality, the unprocessed encounter, the fluidity of reality before it has been domesticated by language. The rational man has not truly felt the real rain of reality in years. He has only felt the umbrella of concepts. The rational man uses concept the way a frightened man uses a locked room. He builds the dome to keep something out. Reality itself should remain outside. Whatever should come in has to be a filtered, conceptual, manageable reality. But the intuitive man, the cosmic thrill seeker, and that is exactly what I want to call this person, the intuitive man. He is the cosmic thrill seeker, uses the very same concepts, the way a child uses a building blocks, not to hide inside them in safety, but to play with them. This cosmic thrill seeker, this intuitive man picks up a worldview the way you pick up a rock on a beach. Not to clutch it, not to live inside it, but to turn it over, to feel his fate, throw it if he wants to, and watch the ripples move outward. Intuitive man is the artist, the poet, the philosopher, the mystic, who has not calcified himself yet. He knows the concept are constructions, and instead of being frightened by that, he finds it thrilling, because if the dome is something human beings built, then it can be dismantled, rearranged, rebuilt as something wilder and more alive. The intuitive man destroys interpretation the way a sculptor destroys stone, not out of nihilism, but out of an almost reckless love for the shape that might emerge underneath the rock as a statue, as an art. The world itself becomes his canvas. The intuitive man, opposed to a rational man, does not ask, is this concept true? He asks, is this concept alive? Does it still carry heat? Or has the concept worn away and left only cold metal in my hand? The rational man's relationship to a worldview is, I must defend this. The cosmic thrill seekers, the intuitive man relationship to a worldview is, what happens if I take this apart? The worldview of materialism, let's take it apart. Buddhist worldview, Jain worldview, Hindu worldview, Christian worldview, just play with it like a baby. But you see, intuitive man is more vulnerable than the rational man. Well, given yes, that intuitive man is more awake, but because he is more awake, because he is not sealed inside the domes of concepts, because he is not looking at the map and he is trying to possess territory itself, the intuitive man stands in actual rain of reality. He chooses the rain without umbrella of concepts. And this is Nietzsche's deeper warning. Most human beings do not live in direct contact with reality. They live inside structures made of inherited words, dead metaphors, conceptual habits, social agreements, a linguistic repetition accumulated across centuries, until the artificial begins to feel natural and the symbolic begins to feel absolute. Human beings build an interior architecture of language and then slowly forget that they themselves have built this structure. They mistake the map for the territory, but the intuitive man, the cosmic thrill seeker, still uses language. He cannot escape it entirely, but he remembers something crucial. The word is not the world. The word is not the thing. The concept is not reality. And beneath all the categories through which human beings organize experience, there remains something unstable, immediate, alive. The thing is not that human beings build conceptual world. The terrifying thing is that most people never realize what those worlds are actually built on. That they are living in one, not in reality, but a conceptual simulacrum. They never understand it. They live their entire life in this conceptual simulacrum and call it reality. They live inside concept and they die inside concept without ever seeing the light outside the cave.